I saw a disturbing story from Bloomberg last week, and I haven't mentioned it because I wanted to make sure I had some facts on it. I called Carol Roth. I called everybody I know, and they were like, that doesn't seem... Well, I don't know. Let me look into it. Carol is here to explain this. Here's what I found in Bloomberg. Asia has net imported gold from the West since April. The trade flow into China, 160 tons of gold. Into India, 80 tons. Into Turkey, 62. Thailand, 38 tons. Saudi Arabia, 20 tons. Malaysia, 4 tons. Hong Kong, 3 tons. Where do they get all this gold? Well, the UK sold 15 tons of gold from their treasury. 32 tons, South Africa. Canada, 33. Australia, 34 tons. And the United States of America sold 136 tons of gold. Did we send that to China? Why are we selling gold when smart money would be buying gold? Hopefully Carol will have an answer for us in 60 seconds. Carol, please tell me I'm reading too much into this. Please tell me.
So this has been a little bit of a Nancy Drew mystery for me, Glenn. I saw this Bloomberg piece as well, and it was a little bit of a head scratcher. So I'm going to take you through some of the things that I found, and hopefully we can piece this together.
Okay. This is really weird because I went to some really big brains that know this kind of stuff. No one had an answer for me.
Okay, so I think so. I'm going to wrap it in a bow first, and then I'm going to walk it back. But I think this is the short-term trader mindset versus people who have a long-term view on the world. So this is short-termism versus long-termism. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that we have to understand, the first thing I did is went, oh my gosh, all of this gold is flowing east, or where is it coming from? So is our central bank that dumb that they're selling gold? So I pulled up a chart of central banks, and central banks have actually been net buyers of gold for most of the year since April, which is the same time period as the chart, this April to August. They have pretty much everybody is a purchaser of gold. There's almost, just a
including
tiny
us?
little bit of selling. Every central bank in the world, which means that even if we're not purchasing it, we're not selling any. There's almost no net sales. So that means our central bank isn't the one that's selling this. So we'll take that off the table.
Here's what I couldn't figure out either. Is the Treasury the same as the central bank? Does the central bank have all of the Treasury's gold?
They're probably not, but let me walk through where I think this is coming from. Okay.
All right.
So the second piece I went to is the consumer market, and consumers seeing what's going on with inflation, understanding that a recession's here and that it's going to get worse next year, have also been buying. And by the way, we can't supply them. So both here in the U.S. as well, particularly in the East, much more in the East, there's been an additional premium. And so I'm going, what's going on here? What you have to understand about the market for gold is that the prices for the gold that when you call Gold Line to buy your gold, like you and I do, Glenn, you're buying physical gold. But that price isn't being set by the supply and demand of you and I buying it. It's being set by the futures market, by these traders who are trading contracts. And all of these derivative products, the options, the futures, they are so much larger than the underlying product. And yes, if this sounds like a familiar story, it is one. But the research estimates put the side of these futures market at $200 to $300 trillion of value being traded when the underlying supply of gold. Yeah. The underlying supply of gold is like $11 to $12 trillion.
This is why I say all the time, don't buy paper gold. Don't do it. Don't do it. It will be worthless in the end.
Exactly. So let me tell you what's happening. So these traders are looking just not at what's happening in terms of the physical supply and demand, but they're looking at, little blips on their screen, and they're saying, oh, well, historically, when we have a strong dollar, that means that's not good for gold. So we should probably get out of it as the Fed tightens their monetary policy. They have gotten to the point where these crazy traders are actually net short on gold, meaning that they have sold more than they have. And this is only the third time since 2014 that this has happened. This happened in 2015. It happened in 2018. And what my researchers have told me is both of those times, as you can imagine, when you have all of these shorts out there, but this crazy macroeconomic environment, it is prime for a short squeeze. And that has set major floors, and there has been huge rallies in gold. So once again, we have the financialization of a product that is very important to us, being bastardized by Wall Street. And what happens in China and India and other parts of Asia is that they're smart. They go, well, the price is falling. We should load up on it. Buy low, sell high. So they actually create a floor for the price of gold because they know they can get it at cheaper prices than it's actually worth. And so they go in and they load up on it. And that's the tenor of what has been happening here, which is just complete insanity. So my speculation is that institutional investors' gold that is flowing because these traders are doing the same thing that the traders always do. They're being short-term, grubby, greedy, and not looking at the bigger macro environment.
But then that means that we're doing that. That we as a nation are we're going to be the opposite of the big short, right? We're selling when we should be buying.
So the good news is our central bank, our country has, and again, if this is true, right? So I'm just going to report what's being reported. I did not go to Fort Knox and verify that the gold is actually there, but we actually have the most gold in the world by a country.
I don't know if I believe that, but they say that is 85 or 84.
8,100 tons.
Tons.
Yeah.
How much is that worth?
I knew you were going to ask me that question, and it was Monday, and my calculator wasn't big enough. So
try it.
It's a lot.
Because I looked at it, and I think it's in the 2 or 3 digit trillions.
Give me the number one more time.
It is
8,100 tons.
8,100 tons, which is about 32,000 ounces per ton. Okay,
32,000 ounces per ton.
Yeah, and gold is trading at about $1,700 an ounce.
Right.
So how much is? If they say we have this, to me it makes no sense. But
$1,700 an ounce, you said?
Yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Yeah, go ahead. Try to figure it out.
I know. Hold on. Okay, here we go.
This is a lot for a Monday, guys.
$440 billion plus?
No, billion. It's got to be more than that.
It's got to be higher than that.
It's higher than that.
Yeah.
It's got to be trillion.
You said 32,000. I'm going by your numbers here.
32,000 ounces.
Yep. Per
times
32,000 times 8,100 times 1,700.
Times 1,700.
Right. So I'll do it again. 8,100 times 32,000 times 1,700 is, let's see. Okay. Yeah, 440 billion.
No.
So again, I think maybe you sure about that number of 32,000 ounces per? I don't know my conversion.
I will look it up.
Look it up.
Somewhere low.
Yeah, that's way too low. Mm-hmm. It's got to be in the trillions. It's got to be in the trillions.
Ounces to tons.
It's probably somewhere, I would say, between 440 billion and $1 trillion. I don't know because again, like you said, it's just the central bank piece of it. But at any rate,
wow.
the U.S. has more than any other individual country. The Eurozone as a group actually has more than the U.S. And on a sort of tons to GDP value standpoint, we are not quite at our GDP, but we're in a sort of good position. The only ones that are really stacking up via their GDP is the Eurozone and Russia, and now China is starting to continue to add to that. So, it's a very strange situation, and it's also a strange situation, Glenn, if you think about the fact that the traders are doing this based on quote unquote dollar strength, because they are looking at the dollar's strength versus other currencies, but they are not looking at the dollar's lack of strength at home. The dollar is not strong when you go to buy your groceries or you go to pay your rent or you go to heat your house. And so that is the challenge. That is what we are when we go and we buy physical gold. That's one of the things that we are protecting against, this continued debasement in the value of the dollar. So there really is a setup here potentially for some sort of a squeeze or even the collapse at some point here of the paper gold market, which means then eventually things would change to going off the actual spot price, the supply and demand, which is how this should be based to start.
Okay, so I should not be worried that Bloomberg's headline is gold's great migration sends bullion rushing east.
No, I think you should be worried. And I think the reason that you should be worried is because the people in Asia are taking a long-term view, and the people in the West are not, and that is going to come back to bite us. And by the way, usually this ends up flowing back. When the price goes high in the past, it has flowed back, because of course we're going to buy it at the higher price.
Which is so stupid.
Which makes no sense. But the people I'm talking to who really know this stuff say not this time. We're in a new financial world order. Something is going to shift here, and so don't expect that flow to come back the other way.
Wow. One last thing with you, Carol, and I appreciate your work on this because I couldn't make heads or tails of this. And our gold situation is so not transparent in America.
It's a travesty. It really is. Something needs to change with this market.
Yep.
It does.
The other question is, we just sent the 101st Airborne over to support NATO. The Pentagon said this weekend we're ready to go to war if we have to go to war with Russia and Ukraine. What does war mean to our economy if it starts with Russia?
I mean, there's obviously a bunch of layers of different scenarios depending on how bad it is. Certainly the defense sector will be doing very well. And it's just a question of, how much, since it's being fought over there, how much of what we're doing ends up being disrupted, or does it end up being something that looks more like the recent wars that we've had in, Afghanistan and the like. So I think it really depends on the scope. But certainly, if we get into a big escalation here, and this, becomes something that is like a world war, a true world war, I think we can all, pretty much not take a big leap of faith to guess that is not going to be a good sign for our economy, particularly at the time when the economy is breaking down and the Federal Reserve has been taking steps to damage the economy, to do that quote unquote demand destruction, to create higher unemployment, all of those things. Not that there's ever a good time for war, but it will just exacerbate those issues.
Okay. I would love you to look into something else. Right now, Biden is saying the GOP is going to collapse the economy. What he's saying is they're going to shut down the government. But that is a lie. You can shut the government down, pay your bills, and not go defunct. Can you not?
I would love them to. I mean, that's the best thing ever. When they shut down the government, then they can't spend any money.
Right.
He is basically setting this up because he knows that the Republicans have a strong chance here, and he knows that the economy is going into a worse position. So he's basically setting up the blame for the things that he has created. He's already pinning it on what is going to happen.
Right. I'd like you to look into how the government actually pays its bills, and you don't go into default if you're a nation. If you shut down, there are ways to do it so you don't go into default. So we can stop the scare tactics.
And we can bust this. I have this great deficit myth when you have a $1.4 trillion deficit on 40% more spending. Would love to chat about that with you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Carol, we'll have you on maybe later this week. We'll cover both of those things.
Sounds great.
That's Carol Roth. You can follow Carol at Carol Roth. CarolRoth.com/Glenn is where you'll be taken to her page where you'll find all the information she does with us. CarolRoth.com/Glenn.